the country to do their work and let the chips at the end of the day fall where they may. As we speak, there are some police personnel who are before the Westmoreland Circuit Court. They are before the court based on allegations that they were culpable in the injuries sustained by Mario Dean back in August of 2014, yes, which resulted ultimately in Mario Dean's death. That is how the system is to work. Mind you, it has taken long in coming, but where there are allegations and where there were investigations which resulted in proffering of charge by the Director of Prosecution, the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution, then let the law take its course. But this little hypocrite, one of Mr. Marsh's heroes, Andre Stevens, yes, will celebrate the demise of Giovanni Ellis. But when other people who are alleged to have fired on the police, and as a result, the police took them out, he, among others, is essentially framing the narrative and the debate in a way to suggest that these deaths, these killings on the part of the police are somehow extrajudicial killings. And I am putting it to you this morning, listeners, that it is premature, reckless, and irresponsible to suggest that. Until you have further and better particulars, you have to appreciate that each police killing is precisely that. They may either be just or they are unjust. And where there's a variance in the police's version of events and that of alleged eyewitnesses or victims, then there are appropriate mechanisms for that to be ventilated. And so, like all well-thinking Jamaicans, I spare a thought for the family, friends, and neighbors of young Kelsey Cassidy Ferrigan this morning, as I did so soon as news of her demise got to my ear. Yes? I commiserate with this grieving family, as did the Prime Minister on Sunday. I say condolences to them in this, their unfathomable hour of grief. And it was good for the Prime Minister to have taken time out on Mother's Day to console as head of government here in Jamaica and stand in solidarity with this grieving family, notwithstanding their immense and incalculable loss. Nothing that is said, no undertaking that was given by the Prime Minister could ever bring back Kelsey Ferrigan. But we sympathize with that family, and that is why it is very important for the police to be supported in the lawful discharge of their work. This morning, I will be putting the spotlight on the matter of a sex offenders registry, which is why we have invited, yes, Priscilla Duhaney, an attorney at law and a spokesperson for Hear the Children's Cry, to this platform, and we'll be having that conversation at 10:10. But just to be clear, based on what we have come to hear, or some of us in the country have come to hear, Giovanni Ellis was acquainted with the mother and the family, essentially, of Kelsey Ferrigan. And based on what we heard on Monday on this same person, Andre Stevens' YouTube platform, when the mother of the then 2-year-old that Giovanni Ellis allegedly assaulted and molested, yes, called into the program on Monday. The mother of Kelsey Farragon would have known or ought to have known of the allegations against Giovanni Ellis, because in that community, Giovanni Ellis would have been out of commission for a while, where he was incarcerated because he was before the courts on the matter of the abuse and essentially the molestation of this child. I gather the child is now 5. This incident happened back in 2022 when the child was essentially 2 years old. The mother called in to Andre Stevens' YouTube show on Monday. And he would be delighted that he's getting mentions this morning. But there's one thing he knows about me. I fight fire with fire. I do it like how the United States do it. Very rough. Very, very rough. He knows me and he knows me well. He can play with others. He can't play with me. They say if you play with puppy, puppy lick your mouth. I don't play with puppies, because I don't want any puppies to lick my mouth. So just to be very clear, this matter was not only a matter of the sex offenders registry, because Kelsey Farragon's mother would have known of Giovanni Ellis's conflict with the law. He came into conflict with the law on account of the alleged physical and sexual abuse of a now 5-year-old child who was 2 years old at the time. Yes? But we accept that the matter of a sexual registry is of considerable moment, and that is why the Prime Minister himself would have expressed the opinions he expressed on Sunday. That, listen, it is high time in this country for us to consider in our lawmaking and in our public policy determinations the rights and interests of the innocent, yes, of victims. Because, just to be clear, listeners, there has been considerable pushback to making the sex offenders registry public, because there are many bleeding hearts out there, including those who like to posture as being Jamaicans on the side of justice, or being Jamaicans who are for justice, who will say that a sex offenders registry is unconstitutional because it violates the privacy, yes, the right to privacy of the accused person, or of the quote-unquote sex offender. Anyway, we run to the break. We will have the phone lines open. I encourage you to call in, including those persons who, will seek to take issue with some of the perspectives. Challenge yourselves. Call in. The numbers are 876-212-9824 or 876-462-0919. One JCF, one law and order. Yes? We go to the break and come back. This same gentleman's YouTube show. Call in. Let's have the discussion here now. You don't challenge yourself when you sing in an echo chamber only. When you preach to those who are singing the same song as you, challenge yourself intellectually. You may be very discomforted by the things I say, but you cannot point to a lie being told by me, which is why I am charging that 2 gentlemen defamed me, and I will be responding and addressing that issue appropriately. Yes? That gentleman, by the way, called into the program to this radio station on Monday to take issue with a comment I made about Mario Dean. And I will reiterate that comment. The phone lines are open, sir. Call in. Don't just be a coward. Call in. The point I made is that there are persons, in order to score their political points, who are peddling a narrative and highlighting gaps in our public health service facilities. In other words, our hospitals. So they will talk about how many people in waiting rooms. They will also talk about how long people have to take before they get a hospital bed. And they say all these things as though they are forgetting that, guess what? When the party of their choice, their preferred political party, served and formed government, we had some of the challenges. The simple point I'm making is that we are farther advanced here and now. We are farther advanced today, much more improved here and now than we were in terms of Operation Refresh, the clinics that are being fixed up, the hospital spaces that are either being newly constructed or expanded. For example, at Spanish Town, new spaces, meaning expansion. At Cornwall Regional, basically a new hospital being constructed. And also, we know that there's the Western Child and Adolescent Hospital coming on stream. The UHWI is also doing renovation to add to enhance its spacing, its available spaces and its offerings. Yeah? These are the things that are happening. And just to be very, very clear, Mr. Al, the discussion I am seeking to have this morning is a very clear one. You say what you are say, and me say what me I say, and I do not want any cross-talking, because for me, caller, I am very confident in my tune. I don't know about you and your tune, but you simply talk your talk and I talk my talk, and we don't want any cross-talking. Good morning, Al. Welcome to the program. Play your tune. Press play.
When dictators set out to set the narratives and how one speaks, then we are living in a dangerous society. And I know that the wicked is rolled for the dictatorship. And so, because of that, I am very cautious to speak to anyone who would want to dictate as to how one speaks and to set the groundwork. You know that what happened in dictatorial countries, and with some people on the internet trying in order to to create Jamaica as one of those North Korea countries. We know that.
Mr. Al, Mr. Al,
yes, I say that.
How one speaks.
You can't be saying,
which is the same point I'm making a while ago, sir. You started with an opening observation. I am chiming in now with an observation of my own. I have no interest in how you speak, Mr. Al. This is the same point I'm making, sir. I have no interest in how you speak and what you say. All I'm speaking to is the manner. In other words, the manner of the interaction that we will have. You are going to say what you are saying, and then me say what me I say. So you can continue now, Mr. Al.
I heard you in the Senate.
Yes, sir.
While Bunting was on his feet.
Yes,
and while
sir.
other people on their feet trying to cross out them. So you have set the example as a policymaker, a lawmaker. So maybe if I do anything, it's because I'm following you. Fine, let me move on. I heard you, Marlon. I show you respect at all times. But when you go over the line to believe that if government fix one hospital, you let it behave as if it is for the government money. It's a JLP money. It's a JLP money and fix hospital or fix road. It is the taxpayers' money.
Yeah. What is the role of government, Al?
Let me tell you what the role of government is.
Personal funds government use or public
government
funds?
And governance. Let us look at both of them.
Yes, sir.
The reality is that if government, you open one little two-bedroom house of St. Elizabeth, and Prime Minister gone down there and with one entourage and put up flowers and put up balloons to embarrass the person who are getting the one little bedroom. That is what government means to today.
All right, Paul, you can pause a moment, Al. What I'm going to say to you, because today is Tuesday, Wednesday, May 14. Tomorrow is Thursday, May 15. The Prime Minister will be going to St. Thomas tomorrow, out in Eastern St. Thomas, to officially open the wonderful Morant Bay Town Centre. Yes? Now, just to be clear, the strategy of this government, or part of the strategy, is that you see the things that hurt the head of people like Al is precisely what the government will do. Yes?
No, Marlon,
so understand that.
Marlon,
Go ahead, you can continue.
TNP built 260 houses and built better poor more never hurt my head, because we know that is what government must do. You see, when you don't build one little area,
we're going to blow up balloon and we're going to blow Fifi. Yes,
people must come praising and sing praises and worship, Like, is some idol. Let me just say this to you, Marlon.
Anything that makes Al and the others vex is what Androlis will be doing.
Remember, Mr. Warmington say, and a fool money, and he now spend for him money down in our Old Harbor. So, taxpayers don't have no money. So, it is not to do the things that the people demand and requires, is that, fix the things when you don't want it because I feel no money. Well, let me say this to you. The people of Jamaica is tired of coming an election, come fix some road overnight. And then tired of open up place. With all these 9 years, nothing never open, no vision never did it. But all of a sudden somebody wake up with some brainstorm and a fix up and a open place all over the place. The people are conscious. The people recognize that it's a trickery from the...
All right, Mr. Al, I'm going to ask you to pause for a moment now.
Yes.
I'm putting it to you, Sir Al, that no one can keep a ribbon cutting ceremony or a groundbreaking ceremony for cool breeze or fresh air. It has to be pursuant to something tangible and potentially impactful to stakeholders in this country for you to either be breaking ground for something or cutting the ribbon at the end of something. And I say that simply, Al, to make the point about a remark your leader of choice made in Darliston, Westmoreland sometime last week, where he charged, yes, Mark Golding basically quipped that the government is up and down the place having ribbon cutting ceremony for projects. He used a particular word, it is even escaping me right now. But the long and short of it is that he was throwing cold water on the ribbon cutting exercises that government has, as though government can cut ribbon for cool breeze.
Well, not only you, I have the right to know what trickery is. I have the right to determine when I see something being forced upon the people, being used at election time in order to tell them, say, $20,000 will come to your account, whether you pay NIS or not. And all of this, we're not vote buying. We must call it for what it is. If good men sit back and does nothing and say nothing.
Sir Al, make advance the reasoning a little.
You say you're not cross-talk me.
We're not cross-talk me, G.
Well, I'm saying something. If good men sit back and watch evil, in a very nice way. What we don't talk about what my Westmoreland way.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to pause a moment, Sir Al. Watch me now. When Dr. Phillips levied $60 billion in new taxes between January 2012 and February 2016, did the people who are poor and destitute in this country have to pay those taxes in part? Did they, yes or no?
Can I answer your question? Marlon,
sure, go ahead.
You know, one of these narratives we're not pushing, and good things, God bless me that I have strength, can go to tell the people. Tomorrow, this evening, gas will be increased. Is it, Olaf?
Yeah, you turn Petrojam now.
Well, let me ask you a question. When you every week put on $3 on gas,
you're funny.
Is that new tax? Is that a tax? Olaf. Is that the people have to pay more? Is that a reduction in their pocket, or is it an increase in their taxes? One. If you come out and lie about no new taxes, every single thing the supermarket raise, and when it raise, the taxes, the 16.5% go up on the tax. Every week you go, take the picture,
Sir
look
Al,
at them.
Sir Al,
a
new tax?
No, you're not going to stop this one. And, keep talking about no new taxes, and confuse upon the radio station at the moment, years and no taxes. It is a lie from the pit of
all right, so pause a moment, Sir Al, so that some learning can take place now.
Every single item in the supermarket has been increased since the last 8 years.
Sir Al.
There are things that were not taxable. All of them is taxes today. All bread tax in a supermarket.
All right. So pause a moment, Mr. Al. There's no tax on basic food items. Understand that. That's the first thing.
I want to buy the bread and show you.
But pause for a moment. Pause for a moment. Let me say this. Yeah? Tax rate is different and separate and apart from tax take. Tax rate simply speaks to a new tax. In other words, something moving from 15%, for example, to 17%. That's an increase, that's a new tax, that's an increase in the tax rate. Now, in a country, you want people to support the work of government by virtue of paying taxes. So the tax rate has not increased. But as people get more money in their pockets and in turn go on to spend that more money that they have in their pocket, the government will be seeing increased tax revenues. The very revenues that is helping to keep Al and Marsh safe and providing drugs at JADEP and drug for the elderly.
Marlon,
Yes,
I know that.
A drug serve rather.
Wait, my friend, it's not Marlon. I know that health has failed. That so no, I have nothing to campaign for health.
Health has failed. Ask the people at the various clinics that have been retrofitted.
Don't tell the woman that we turn back from hospital, can do operation and turn back because there's no bed, turn back because there are no drugs. Remember saying no cost out drugs for the elderly, no cost out the NHS.
General, I am confident in my tune relative to your tune, so I'm not perturbed by your tune.
No, what you are doing, and you try it all the time, to suppress people's opinion.
No, man, the opposite of that,
don't try that with me, brethren.
We do the opposite of that.
I am simply saying to you, you could have talked about it till you're dead, is that it will cost out every single thing for the poor. All policemen who get beaten, the police station shut up a Town and Crossroad post and shut up and allow me to know how go police. We don't love police. No, because now go to election. No, never love police. Don't think about the guy and the police couldn't go over there and appear shooting at the Town police station.
Let's come back to the fundamental point here now.
You don't love police. What you don't love is to use police for election campaign. Don't try that with me, my friend.
All right, so watch me now, because what you said a while ago is not worth dignifying with a response. So I want to come back to the tax point. Remember the rule, remember the ground rule. You DJ your tune and then me DJ my tune. I do not seek to suppress your tune because I am confident that my tune a bigger tune for your tune. You understand that? My dub them a bigger dub for your dub. You understand? So now, let us come back to the tax issue. Somebody I whisper to you, let me tell you what you say.
Nobody can tell me what you say.
Somebody I whisper to you, man.
Nobody can whisper to me. I am standing by myself. Because you're so preemptive. You're very preemptive that you believe that.
Yeah, the other phones are ringing at the background, Al. You're at the call center.
I have two phones.
You're at the PNP call center. But that not going to help you. The PNP call center not going to help you.
Senator, you're too petty, man. Come up.
Anyway, there's an important point I made in the Senate on Friday.
On Friday.
I made the point to Damian Crawford because it was a point he made some years ago. Damian Crawford, I made the point. Lock down him good eye and I look through him bad eye. Because that was a point he made some years ago to PNP comrades when he was cussing them out. To say that they are complaining because what they're doing is locking down them good eye and I look through them bad eye. The very same thing that Damon has come to do now.
You don't remember when Bruce and the gang of 8 and gang of 5 I had bought it and
I could have the gang of 20. I could have the gang of 20. That will not stop the revenues from performing. And then I'll have to let you go now, yeah? We'll have to let you go now. Yeah, man, take it easy. All right, take it easy, Al. So, yeah, man, all the best, all the best. All the best, all the best, Al. So somebody's whispering there to Al in his background, and of course Al seems to be operating from the PNP's call center. You hear phone lines ringing in his background. Anyway, say morning to John Pollock, Al, and all of the others. They're huddled at 89 Hopeless Road. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning, Senator. Morning.
Yes, sir. How are you?
What Al doesn't remember is an old policeman. when all used to get 3% increase, it used to freeze. That's what all figure lag up in. All, we are opening a center out by Morant Bay, St. Thomas, that St. and Ferguson was the minister for 5 consecutive terms.
Yeah, he was the MP and he was a minister of government.
And he was a minister of government also, all. And nothing couldn't done out there. We are opening it tomorrow morning.
Who are the vision to conceptualize and establish that, Carl?
Dr. Andrew Michael Holness.
You mean the man who all them tear down and cuss every day?
Right.
Okay.
And one thing I want to remind all, that out of that part that is opening tomorrow, there is no borrowing money, the taxpayer dollar all, that we take, that this government take from people, the revenue that come in, doesn't borrow no Topanaris man money that then turn billionaire out of the taxpayer of Jamaica. It takes a bill of courthouse in a St. Thomas now, all, that will be opening tomorrow, all. Log up in a that, all. and Prime Minister Andrew Holness, no God, I'll go home and yard and put in pension as the same pension that the current Prime Minister get now, all. Suck up in a that, all. And a man went to the Senate last week, Friday, and mislead the Senate all.
You mean Peter Murcott Bunting?
Yes, mislead the Senate all.
How did he do that?
By telling the Jamaica people that the Ministry of Education work people, contractor, and pay them. And that's why them stop the work. And the man come out back and say it is a lie.
Which man come out and say it's a lie? Which man that?
The contractor man said that.
So the contractor who Bunting alleged was not being paid.
Right.
Came out
and denied Friday all. I am not calling from 89 Old Hope Road. I can buy credit from my phone.
That's right, sir.
Because of policy that this government put in, I can buy credit now, all. I'm not getting a freeze, all. When I think about a lot of all, and you're going to talk about West Kingston, all, you shouldn't touch West Kingston, because we know what happened twice there, all, when the election was coming up. So you shouldn't touch it, all. We are not idiots to what happened in that 18 years, all.
Tell me in your words, Carl, having regard to what will be officially open tomorrow out in Eastern St. Thomas, what opportunities do you see it opening up for young, Jamaicans, persons who are seeking opportunities, work and so on? What do you think it will mean over there?
A lot of persons won't have to leave to Kingston anymore to get a job. And pay it almost in a bus fare to come to Kingston. They can work nearer into them parish.
And you see that is very impactful because
that is
they will not contend with the, bus fare, the transportation costs to access jobs elsewhere.
Right.
But there's good news, I gather, for those who live out in St. Thomas and work in Kingston. Because there's now a JTC service. Is that so?
Yes, very good also. And the JUTC bus will be taking people from downtown Kingston now straight into Morant Bay. And that's what all must take a stock and look at. When all peer used to freeze, all used to walk in a JLP Police Station, if you get all of those things, things.
Because there are police stations which were almost like Watland Dab structures.
Yes, one used to then to go to Chilla, you put stay in the road and I look up to it on a banking side.
All right,
that was 18 years.
There's something that we have to point out to the public as well. When you consider the money in your pocket focus attention on two things, because just yesterday, Carl, the Labour and Social Security Minister announced some upward adjustments.
Senator, beg you from me, somebody call me to talk to me about something.
Yeah, man. No, say a word, man. They think all the best, Carl. Good. So now, the Minister of Labour and Social Security made some announcements in the Parliament yesterday, listeners, on the occasion of his contribution to the 2025-2026 sectoral debates. Yes? I'm going to enumerate a few of them, but just to be very clear, for those who will want to say that the announcements, the increases that were announced for NIS beneficiaries are minuscule and a little drop of money, please bear in mind two things. Inflation in this country has been moderate due to the efforts of the central bank in particular. The targeted inflation is in the order of 4 to 6%. So that's the first thing. We have had inflation containment in this country, certainly for the past 24 months at least. Separate and apart from that, there's the issue of no new taxes. Because remember now, taxation erodes your purchasing power, listeners. So therefore, to the extent that the government has been presiding over a relatively low inflation environment, in addition to a no new taxes environment, for 8 consecutive budgets you have had no new taxes. And since this government has taken office, you have had 10 consecutive budgets of no net new taxes. Zin? What that means is that the money in your pocket now is better off than the money that was in your pocket when others formed the government. For example, Patterson, and for example, Mrs. Simpson Miller. Now, just to be clear, the weekly pension rate will move from $4,200, NIS that is, to $4,620. There's another rate here that will move from $3,500 to $3,850, and this is the reduced rate, the 0.75% for the old age pension. There, a retirement invalidity pension will move from $60,000 to $65,000. The special child and orphan pension will move from $6,000 per week to $6,600 per week. The special child and orphan grants will move from $75,000 to $80,000. The employment injury benefits will be moving from $4,200 per week to $4,620 per week. The funeral grants, the money that people, members of the public, are able to get through NIS. You have a dead in your family, just like how Cassidy Fairgun's family, have a deceased family member who they will now have to go and have funeral arrangements for. The funeral grant is moving from $150,000 to $160,000. The maternity allowance will move from $15,000 to $16,000, and this is come June 1. All of the other increases I've announced will take effect on the 1st of July. So for those persons who will quickly go and do their pro-box calculations and say this is a little drop of money, this is a little bit of money, the frequency with which you have been having these adjustments are considerably better off than the frequency with which any such adjustments happened when Patterson was Prime Minister in this country. Yes? And of course, we know the environment within which we're operating. This is a no new taxes environment, and this is a moderate or contained inflation environment. That was a different Jamaica relative to that over which Patterson and Simpson Miller presided. Low inflation and no new taxes. It makes the money in your pocket do a bit more relative to previous times in this country. We take the NPR news at the top of the hour and come back at 10:10 with that has shaken Jamaicans to the core and quite frankly has stirred urgent calls for stronger child protection measures. Now at the forefront of this call is Hear the Children's Cry. This is a child advocacy group that has long championed the rights and safety of our nation's children. Joining us this morning is Priscilla Duhaney, attorney at law and spokesperson for Hear the Children's Cry. Of course, listeners, Hear the Children's Cry. You will appreciate that the late Betty Ann Blaine, yes, distinguished advocate in terms of children's affairs, was associated over many years with this entity. Good morning, Priscilla. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Marlon. Thank you for having me.
All right, good. This matter of, well, first of all, let's just start with your, reactions, as it were, your own commiserations that you would wish to telegraph to young Kelsey Cassidy Fairgun's family in this, their hour of grief, Priscilla Duhaney.
Could you repeat that for me, please?
No, I'm just asking you for your, initial, thoughts, your reactions to the sad news that we would have heard coming out of the weekend. And while you're at it, you would perhaps wish to, telegraph or convey your own sympathies and condolences to the late Kelsey's family.
Oh, most definitely. Well, my initial thoughts, of course, was that this was definitely disheartening. It was really something sad, disappointing that we could have heard. It was really heart-wrenching for me when I heard what transpired. We definitely send our condolences and empathize and sympathies to the family of Kelsey. I know that her mother and all other family members, loved ones, even neighbors, members of her school community, teachers were definitely, affected by not only her passing, but the process and what transpired to that result. So we are definitely here, and we are open to refer Kelsey's family if he needs counseling. We have a counseling team, so we're open to that. And of course, what is even more painful for us is the fact that even in this month of May, which we should be celebrating our children, it was actually this month that we had to experience this gruesome killing. So everything in one is just altogether a challenge for us. And it's just definitely a cry that we ought to respond to. We need to be listening to the cries of our children, and we are definitely open to provide support as much as possible.
All right. Thank you for that. And I would commend your services as well to, Kelsey's family in terms of, grief support and counseling services, essentially. Now, first of all, Priscilla, having regard to Kelsey's, death, Hear the Children's Cry, like other stakeholders in Jamaican society, have been renewing calls or have been focusing attention on the sex offender registry here in Jamaica. Give us a sense as to what Hear the Children's Cry position is on this issue in terms of the degree to which it would help to correct a particular existing mischief in Jamaican society.
All right. So the sex offenders registry, as you know, since this sad ordeal has become another topical issue, and we hear the Prime Minister speaking of it about reviewing the Bail Act and so forth concerning this. And we have been having this discussion for years now to make it public. Quite a number of advocates have been asking for it to be made public so that essentially it brings about transparency and accountability, whereby a sex offender will know that eyes are on him. He will become more aware that, he's being scrutinized a lot of times we understand that these persons might just be repeated offenders. Because they feel that it is in secret. Nobody knows that they have this history or this background or this particular characteristic or this offense. Have committed this offense, and as a result of it, while the information about them has remained private, they are carrying out public gruesome acts. So here the Children's Cry, our position essentially is that it should be made public. Now, while it should be made public, we also believe that one of the deficiency in the system is not just because it is not public to everyone or accessible to everyone, but because there is a lack of monitoring or lack of system in place to ensure that the registry is kept up to date. So if you check it out, you will find that when a sex offender is placed on the list, he will likely have his name and address stated, but he is not necessarily
domicile that location.
So you need to have constant updates of the registry. And one of the things it's very important to note is that a lot of the names must be included, proper names, yes, as well as aliases, because a lot of persons would not know that this individual name is John Brown.
You're so absolutely correct.
Community, he is known to be Coolie Man.
There you go.
Or something else.
Just to be clear, Priscilla, we, I'm sure, have all had experiences, and you will hear many Jamaicans underscore this experience. When we got the funeral of somebody, I actually take out that program and look at it, that you know the person's real name.
Absolutely.
You're in a community and you know somebody as so-and-so for all these years. And it's when you go to the person's funeral, you know that them name Valentine Windsor or whatever the name is. Because you always know them as either Mas so-and-so or Mr. Tingling.
Very much so. So it's very important to have the data, to have proper data and adequate data and up-to-date data. So with the registry, as we said, making it public is one thing. And we believe essentially, because if you decide to commit an offense, sexual offense, then that is proper reason to infringe on your right to privacy. You have made a public offense, you have done a public act which is offensive to an individual, whether a child, especially a child. Why should we keep you as a person in private or be concerned so much about your privacy when this could very much be one of the reasons why you have continued on that path? Another thing for sure, I want to make this point clear. We definitely believe that if you are a repeated offender, it should be made public. So if you have done it several times or you have been found to be guilty or charged with sexual offense, then why should we keep that private? So we are calling out for the government and and Parliament to look into reviewing and revising, amending the law in accordance to the realities of our society.
Because the principle, the basis behind all of this, Priscilla, is that whilst we have a society, yes, we have a nation in which persons enjoy certain guaranteed constitutional rights, including the right to privacy. The gist of it is that the law in a country, how government governs the country, has to be in a way that signals that it owes a certain duty of care to the community, to the public. In other words, young children are owed a certain duty of care, notwithstanding the right to privacy of Mr. X, to be safeguarded from Mr. X. And that is what you and others are contending, right?
Very much so. Very much so. Because even living in a neighborhood, because when we assess what would have transpired over the last week or so with young Kelsey, he was living in a neighborhood with this individual possibly living there or visiting the
Yeah, in
area quite
proximity to where the
often,
people them there, yeah?
very close. The mother of young Kelsey said she was not aware of his past. And so if you were aware, then you would have been more vigilant. It's possible that other persons in the neighborhood would not have known either. And so they could have been more on the alert. The fact that this is held in private, or we are concerned
Deprive
about
citizens of that
privacy.
knowledge.
Right. It takes away the opportunity for you to have a more watchful eye and for you to put things in place to protect your child or children. And so we are looking at preventative measures by allowing for this registry to be made public. At the very least, even if it's not done in its entirety at the jump, we should be looking at doing a phase by phase rollout. So probably in the first year or two, you're looking at justice of the peace in all the areas to be able to access this information. If you're looking at, and parents and particular persons who have certain concerns, I definitely believe that if you have a reasonable suspicion of an individual, then you should be able to access this information.
And I just want to break this down a little bit for the listeners, Priscilla, right? We know how, socialization ensues, especially in a Jamaican context. And we know that children, for example, essentially interface with adults, particularly in circumstances where those adults have come to win their trust and, win their confidence and so on. And so you may have a social context in which persons are not apprised of the sexual deviant antecedents of a person, and having regard to that ignorance, both the person's parent and the child is engaging and interacting with this quote-unquote person with sexual deviance in their history in a way that sees the child coming to develop a degree of comfort in relation to the person. And that would not have ordinarily been the case if that family were seized of the person's antecedents.
Absolutely.
And we know who
Right.
exploit children. People who, yes, and we hear the criticisms about, persons in positions of authority all the time, whether it's a coach, whether it is the priest at church, you name it. We know
Absolutely.
how persons
Right.
exploit children by virtue of proximity to them.
Essentially, what you have is sexual grooming a lot of times.
Yeah.
And we have the counselors and psychologists have already established or determined that sexual grooming does not come automatically from strangers. It usually comes where there is a relationship
There you go.
developed, a relationship of trust and confidence. So hence why you tend to find sexual offenses and grooming being most common amongst persons and children with adults that they find comfort in. They
Yeah,
trust
with a
in.
neighbor, a family member, an extended family member, uncle, this and that.
And so
Yeah.
forth. So it's definitely an issue that we have to take into consideration, and we need to address it urgently. It cannot be something we sit down and table another 10 years or so, or discuss it and then put it under a rug and talk about it another time. We have another situation like Kelsey Farragon. So we must put things in place. We must act quickly so that we can have a proper, successful results of preventative measures being put in place to protect our children.
Exactly. Lest this becomes yet another 9-day talk, and then we'll move on, leaving the society vulnerable for there to be other Kelsey Fairguns. Now, I want to play devil's advocate a bit and put the question of exposing persons who have ostensibly or who are ostensibly getting back on the right track and putting their life back together, notwithstanding their previous brush with the law, exposing them to vigilantism or undue recrimination and recrudescence, Priscilla?
Well, to be honest, it is going to be a challenge for those persons. But we have to understand that we have to look at the two evils and the greater good for the society.
The public good, yeah. The public interest.
So essentially, even if you are on the right path and you are trying to, change your history, rewrite your past to a better future, which, to be honest, the best thing to do, best way to get that done is to show a demonstration of that. So telling somebody is not going to work. But when people feel and see the changes in you, it will have an impact. But we cannot stop to say that, listen, let us be private about this matter because we are concerned about possibly the minority, the minority of sex offenders, right? So we will have to balance it out, but we are looking at the greater good and interest of the society, which is to prevent or deter, to hold these offenders accountable for their actions. And we hope that those who decide and who are somewhat pricked and convicted or converted to do good will show that demonstration and in the future can tell of the testimony in some way, shape, and form. But we cannot stop to think and be too concerned about that when our children and our people are at stake.
And in terms of your own advocacy there, Hear the Children's Cry, what kind of pushback have you heard from perhaps other stakeholder groups as it relates to the whole notion of the right to privacy? Have you heard, for example, from a position from JFJ as it relates to making the sex offender registry public? Do you know of their position as it relates to the right to privacy?
To be honest, I have not heard from them. I don't know if there was any publication made, any post, but we have not. They have seemingly been silent on the matter. I am not sure if they have made any form of commentary on the matter, but we are waiting. But I believe it might just be similar to what we have been, the few that have said that, there is a concern in terms of the right to privacy. But as we have already established, we have to look at what is the greater good of the society. The realities in which we are living in is that these are some trying times. Our children are our future, and we need to protect our future. As we have no Jamaica.
And any well-thinking and law-abiding Jamaican should and would, associate with those observations, Priscilla. I've come to the end of the segment. Really have to, thank you for your time and your insights, Priscilla.
Thank you.
All the best. Good. And I bid you and the entire team there at Hear the Children's Cry, particularly giving your program of work in this month, May being Child's Month. All the best.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good. All right. So that was Priscilla Duhaney. She is an attorney at law and indeed a spokesperson for Hear the Children's Cry, weighing in on the issue of the sex offenders registry. Now we're going to go to the break, listeners, and come back with more of your calls registry. This is what this headline says. JFJ calls for amendments to Sexual Offences Act. I'm going to read us the first paragraph essentially for you. Executive Director at Jamaicans for Justice. By the way, this thing was published June 7, 2024. So just last year. just under a year ago. Zin? Executive Director at Jamaican for Justice, Michael Jackson, is calling for the government in its review of the sex offender registry not to make it public, but to broaden categories of those who can access and ensure effective utilization by those who already have access. The little clown I mentioned earlier on this program, who found it appropriate and necessary to make his way to Halfway Tree to protest with JFJ on the question of police killings. He has been all over the place, quite rightly so, quite frankly, calling for the sex offenders registry to be made public. He doesn't even know that his newfound bosom buddy, Michael Jackson of JFJ, is diametrically opposed to his position on the matter of sex offenders registry. So you see, listeners, a society can't be governed on the basis of expediency. Government can't act out of expediency. Miscreants in the society can do those kinds of things. But those who are sensible, like, those of us who are responsible in our outlook and our utterance, we know that it has to be principle over expediency. And I will come back to this issue. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Morning, Mr. Morgan.
Morning, sir.
I agree with that caller, Mr. Lambert Brown, making in the Senate. Where, they should be taking education tax from minimum wage earner and then put the money into the consolidated fund, and sooner or later those money mismanaged, those funds mismanaged all over the place.
Yeah.
Just the same way, with the NHT fund, where government taking the NHT fund is for to build a house, and government taking money out of it, put in the budget. And minimum the majority of the funds from minimum wage earner.
A bit of apples and oranges, but continue to make the point. Go ahead.
Minimum wage earner can afford one of those houses.
All right.
Right?
So let us break down a couple of things now, sir. The education tax is essentially a payroll tax, right?
Yeah.
In pursuant to pay as you earn, before you even get your pay, whether weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, that come out of it. No, sir?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I understand that the consolidated fund is basically the government's account.
Yeah.
Right? It pay public sector workers. It put fuel in the JUTC vehicle. It put police car on the road. And it fix the road. Them see?
The education tax,
yes, sir.
Should go for education, sir. No wonder why education.
All right. So let me ask you this question, sir.
Then set up a fund, say if you go towards education. And then I put it in gold.
All right, so stick up in, sir. Stick up in.
Right?
Caller, we have a discussion, my general. I just want you to relax and watch the discussion here and participate in the discussion here very responsibly and soberly. Watch me now. The budgetary support, listen to me, Mr. General. The budgetary support to the Ministry of Education, which part it come from? In other words, the money we fund public education in Jamaica, where part it come from?
No government budget.
It come from the consolidated fund, right?
But why?
Hold on, sir, man. Make we have the discussion, man. Where party money come from?
Out from the government budget.
Watch me now, sir. Which part of the education tax go?
They say that go to the consolidated fund.
All right. Does it follow to you? Hold on, sir.
That amount of fund that come out, that 500 billion come out for education tax.
That's rubbish, sir. How can education tax be 500 billion? That makes sense to you? I'm going to urge you, sir, to do a bit of learning now. Sir, I'm going to urge you I'm going to invite you to pause a moment. I want to facilitate a bit of learning now on your part. So I want you to just bear with me and do some listening for a few seconds now. The money that pays teachers in this country puts textbooks into schools and build additional classrooms or build schools, not drop from sky. It comes, sir, from the consolidated fund. The education tax that is paid by all workers here in Jamaica, all income earners, goes to the consolidated fund. Zane, watch me now. On Monday, I looked at what is called my fiscal policy paper. The education tax, sir, that was collected between April and December of 2024 amounted to 37 billion Jamaican dollars. That is the education tax, sir, not the 500 billion. But that is not over a year. You will appreciate, sir, that April 2024 to December 2024 represents 3 quarters. The fiscal policy paper was basically published in February, so they wouldn't have had the last quarter numbers to go in it. So just going by the first 3 quarters of the last financial year, the education tax amount was $37 billion. Watch me now, sir. The budget to the Ministry of Education is well over $100 billion.
The fund that they collect for education tax, that should be additional fund to go towards education.
But I mean, you're listening, but you're not doing any learning. Right? Sorry, let me go again. Let me try again. In short, I am putting it to you, sir, that although there are no ring-fenced monies in Jamaica now, except outside of the Universal Service Fund, because outside of USF, we no longer have earmarked or ring-fenced money anymore. Based on the IMF reforms that we have had, we now have the consolidated fund operating in the true consolidated sense, where everything that is due to Caesar, everything that is due to government comes to the one place, the consolidated fund, sir. And this is separate and apart from the only ring-fence fund we have remaining, which is the Universal Service. Sir, I don't want you to talk while I'm talking, sir. Sir, I do not want you to talk while I'm talking. I will listen to you, and I will allow you to say what you're saying, and then I will say what I'm saying. But I am still saying what I am saying. So hold a moment so that the listeners can hear me clearly and learn clearly, because they will neither learn from you nor Lambert Brown. So let me say this in very clear terms.
That was the original intention to for the education tax to be going to the consolidation fund.
The education tax, when it was passed back in 83. That was the
original intention.
Oh, man.
Just like the NHT.
Sir, can I say what I'm saying? You just asked a question. I'm now responding to your question. When the education tax was promulgated, it was pitched as something to fund education. And we all accept, yes, that while it was pitched as such, we have never had in this country a ring fencing of the education tax, meaning a dedicated fund for education in terms of the education tax that goes to education from a ring-fenced fund. It has always gone to the consol fund. However, what I'm saying to you, sir, when you consider what is collected in terms of the education tax and what the education ministry's budget is, it is difficult to make the point that education tax does not go to fund education. Although we do not have a discrete and dedicated education fund, yes, the taxes raised support the actions of the government in terms of the government's fiscal program, including education, sir. The education budget right now is well over $100 billion Jamaican dollars, and I just gave you the figure for the education tax yield. Yes, between April and December of last year, it came in at $37 billion. So if we were to extrapolate from that to the entire year, it could be somewhere in the region of 50 billion Jamaican dollars. 50 billion Jamaican dollars relative to what the budget for the Ministry of Education is would be a quarter of the ministry's budget, basically. I'm wondering if you understand that better.
I hear you, Mr. Marlon, but I think, as I say, I agree with Lambert Brown. They shouldn't be taking it from minimum wage earner and put it in consolidating.
All right, so let us go again now to Lambert Brown. Watch me now, caller. Watch me now. No, man, we'll soon move on, man. We'll soon move on. Watch me now.
Yeah.
I want tech time DJ my tune them, you know. So watch me now. when Portia Simpson Miller was Prime Minister, when PJ Patterson was Prime Minister, and when Michael Manley was Prime Minister between 1989 and sometime in 1992, let us say March 1992, when Patterson took over as Prime Minister. Zin, watch me now, sir. Did we have the education tax in place?
Yes.
All right. Did we have a ring-fenced fund where the education tax went to? Or did we just have the consult fund where it went to?
It used to be going into education.
It what?
It used to be going to education. It wasn't going to education since when.
I am suggesting that it went to education, albeit not from a ring-fenced fund. So you see the point I'm making? So in other words, sir, watch me now. Remember, I know, in my opening commentary this morning, sir, I drew the distinction between principle and expediency. Lambert Brown sits where he deserves to sit, on the opposition benches in Jamaica. So let me be clear, sir. Because Lambert Brown, well, sir, don't DJ with me a DJ. Don't do that, sir, please. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause and allow you to speak, and then I come back and finish the thought I'm coming with.
Sooner or later, the PNP will be in power because all the nights the JLP is making up and jumping all over the place. You won't be.
All right. So yeah, cool. Good. Yeah, good. So we're moving on from that now. Yeah, that is all well and good. So watch me now, because I'm hoping that some learning takes place. So let me go back to the point I'm making. Sir, we're not discussing General Secretary now. We're discussing ed tax. I'm going to ask you respectfully to cut off your mic, stop talk, and let me do some talking now.
Yeah, that is new.
Watch me now, sir. Lambert Brown's preferred political party doesn't form the government right now. So he would want to imperil and do a disservice to Jamaica by having Jamaica no longer receiving the $50 billion, so to speak, that comes into the consolidated fund, the government's coffers, via the education tax, a tax that is paid by minimum workers, minimum age earners, and the rest of us. Because guess what? Just like anybody else, or even relative to, in a greater way, relative to others, poor people in this country, sir, benefit from public education. Would you agree with me, or would you not agree with that observation?
But also a lot
sir,
of,
the school feeding that go on at school, the free books that issued at school.
Mismanaged and
all right, sir, I'm going to ask you to pause. I'm going to ask you to pause and let's listen to this carefully. Watch me now, sir. I am putting it to you, sir. Sir, I am putting it to you that poor Jamaicans, persons who earn minimum wage, persons who earn less than $20,000, persons who earn less than $30,000 per week, and so on. Those persons, hold on, sir, don't DJ when me a DJ. One artist at a time. One artist at a time, sir. And especially when a big artist at work, you allow for the artist to work. Sir. Persons who earn less than $20,000 per week, when they send their children to school, they send their children typically to public educational institution, not AISK and not Hillel Academy or prep schools. You see, the poor people who earn minimum wage, who pay the education tax, and the people who earn less than $20,000 per week, like what Lambert Brown said, those people, their children also receive the textbooks. All right, you can discontinue this call. Cut out this call. I want to say what I'm saying without being interrupted, because it's a very, very important point. Just for the benefit of the listeners, because it's a very important point not to lose sight of. The textbooks that are issued at public educational institutions, yes, the breakfast and all of the other amenities, including the teachers that are paid to teach the children of minimum wage earners, Those resources come from the consolidated fund. It comes from the budget that is provided to the Ministry of Education. So understand this. The education tax flows into the consolidated fund, and the budget for the Ministry of Education, in other words, public education in particular, is supported by and facilitated via the consolidated fund. So the people who pay education tax, sir, are making a contribution to the education of their own children or other children in the society, as it should be. Now, if the resources of the government and the position the country is in would have enabled the country to be able to forego the education tax, then that would be fine. However, at this juncture, the education tax, which is a payroll tax, contributes in large part to the fiscal program of the government. In other words, it contributes to the money the government is able to spend for the benefit of you and for the benefit of me. That is simply to be understood. So what Lambert Brown came with, this private member's motion that he has come with, to call on government to discontinue the collection of education tax from a select group of taxpayers, it is inimical to the country's fiscal interest, I submit. I put it to him in the Senate that was the case and is the case, and I'm putting it to listeners on radio that is also the case. Poor people benefit from public education in this country. The teachers that are paid, the food that is provided to the vulnerable and the poor at schools don't drop from sky. Classrooms that are built don't drop from sky. Yeah? The textbooks that are issued to students don't drop from sky. The laptops that are provided and tablets to students, printing material and all these things, they don't drop from sky. So for anybody, as Lambert Brown did last Friday, to be suggesting that we should discontinue the education tax basically, at least for certain groups of taxpayers, are persons who do not mean, as far as I am concerned, the fiscal program of the country any good. He did not say that when Mrs. Simpson Miller, his good friend, was Prime Minister. He would never have said that. Lambert Brown did not suggest that when P.J. Patterson was Prime Minister in this country. It's about expediency over principle and what is right for Jamaica, where those guys are concerned. Always expediency over principle, and that's why it is always easy to defeat them intellectually and from an argumentative standpoint. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Morning, brother Marlon.
Greetings, folks. So I'll go on there.
Yes, man. I give thanks, my brethren. Keep up the pressure, man. Guys, I gather, Uncle Marlon. I gather people like Stella, Marsh, and Metro. And you have one named Sir P. Me and you, I give them play ready if you hear them on a third radio program in the afternoon.
Yeah, man.
Mr. My brethren, we not ease upon them.
Down at North Street. Down at North Street.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. But me want you to, when I go to the Parliament, Senator, I want to move a motion for the Jamaican people. And you notice me not say for the Jamaica Labour Party, me say the Jamaican public at large. Move a motion for the sex offender registry to make known public to us out here, Senator Morgan. Because little did many of us know, many sex predators live among us who are preying upon our children and young people of this country and damage their future, Senator. This morning when I listen to you, I say, yes, Marlon, you are on the right track. Because there are some people who want to praise the police, the Jamaica Constable Force, when it suits them.
They can't fool people like me, man. We see the thing before it can't.
I mean, like how you deal with it this morning. But me Senator, I want to call up some of them names where they say them have got a mouthpiece to change, you know, because them there no fruit. If Mark Walling can't come to the nation and show in Jamaica by every ticket, we don't see purpose when firm. But you want to ask them, Senator Marga, you was in the parliament, many of us wasn't. Peter Bunting get up in the parliament and make a talk about a certain contractor down in a school in South Manchester.
Yeah, Prattville Primary and Infant.
Prattville Primary. Peter Bunting telling my minister of information, my minister of education, that she is being misled. You know, Peter Bunting catch and put about disease, my virgin.
I know I was egregious about that, Fox.
Yes.
Because the minister was making a momentous statement, right?
Yes.
This business of the national school nutrition policy has been a long talked about one, yes? And it has finally gotten to a certain point where the minister could be tabling it in the parliament and making a statement about it.
That's
so the technocrats, the very people who Bunting sought to impugn or throw under the bus, those people were actually seated in the well of the chamber when he did what he did. In other words, the permanent secretary and the chief education officer, as well as the senior director for policy and planning in the ministry, they were seated in parliament on Friday when Bunting essentially told the minister that she was being misled, or she's being misled by the technocrats.
What you're telling the nation, that those people...
The very people who the man threw under the bus were literally there when he was saying the unfortunate and baseless things he said. Because Bunting, in playing the politics, Bunting sought to attribute the 95% completion of the works at Prattville Primary to outstanding payments. He's saying that the work not done yet because the contractor has not been paid. And as we now know, nothing no go so. Nothing no go so.
But let me go a little further, my virgin. Let me go a little further. Because if they want to play politics, we can't go down and win a senator. For if you know that the same gentleman, the contractor, tell the nation, not one, but tell the nation that because he supports the Peter Phillips, one PNP, and the Lisa and a presidential candidate. You know, Peter Bunting went and set up the man. The man come and talk. He said that is why he walk away from them. And let me tell you something, Uncle Marlon. This is to show how dangerous Mark Walling. And I want you to feel a word to me before we go. Relic. Outdated relic. Write down that word.
Yeah, man, I know it very well.
I want to look for that word for me. That is what the PNP have become today, Senator Morgan. And let me tell you something. We shall do everything in our power that is right and in the law to keep out these outdated relics away from Jamaica House. You hear me telling me, brethren? The camera saying the way and go and evil spirit rise up against him. And it's going to follow him right through. Because all the lies when they tell Pat Antolis, Canada Bryan. Canada Bryan was talking about the thief, the nutrition bond money. And I was trying to get to him because I want to ask him, who thief pick the money?
And he misinformed the public, Fox, when he mentioned that the place, essentially referring to Nutrition Products Limited, he was essentially referring that the place was closed down when nothing of the sort.
Yes, he did say that.
Nothing of the sort. So, I mean, that kind of commentary does public, discourse at this service, and it misinforms listeners.
Many of these people want to tell us out here, Senator, that the sky is falling. But we have a little thing in our hand. We start with P. We just want to go on Google. And everything come up that is right. It no matter what they want to tell us. People are getting water. Senator, last Sunday gone, Mother's Day, you know where I was? I was way up in the hills of East Road, St. Andrew. Way up. A place called Content Gap. And let me tell you something. When they go up there, so you can see that the Member of Parliament, the Honourable Juliet Holness, is doing our groundwork while them down here in the sun at a night. Right? And I want to tell the Jamaican people, use their platform. Don't be fooled by the PNP. They have been here already. I will know what them about.
I'll give you an example, Fox.
Yeah.
The call being made by Lambert Brown, read the education tax, said the government for stop collect it. Did he make that call when Simpson Miller was Prime Minister?
No, it didn't make it. And me glad that you go and mention Lambert now, because yesterday I was listening to a program, a man that's sitting for Simon Crosskill. You see, and some of them, they can't sit through the breath for telling nation the truth. Them tell it in our education. I can look around Lambert Brown and say, Lambert, say, lie yourself and it, you tell lie. We hear him yesterday. We hear him again. But let me tell you something, Marlon.
Out of time, the Fox. Make it quick, 10 seconds.
Them have to try everything. But let me tell you something. All that they were depending on to say them over Jamaica House is over, my friend. Take it easy, Uncle Marlon. Maybe I call before they're done. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, man. All right. As always. All right. Thank you for that intervention this morning, Fox. We run to the break and take the NPR news at 11. Being observed from May 12 to 18 under the theme, Make Walking, Cycling and Riding Safe. That's a theme this year. Make walking, cycling and riding safe. Now, with road traffic injuries continuing to be the leading cause of death among young people worldwide, this year's spotlight on helmet safety for motorcyclists is particularly urgent and timely. In Jamaica, motorcycle-related crashes accounted for nearly 30% of road traffic fatalities in calendar year 2024, with a staggering number involving young men who were not wearing helmets. In response, the National Helmet Wearing Coalition, led by the Jane Foundation, has sought to take action. Now, this morning, we're being joined by Sidonie Preddy. She is the project manager for road safety and road user education at the Jane Foundation, as well as Dr. Terry Smith. He is the principal scientist at Galetus and a technical consultant supporting helmet safety initiatives. They are with us to share some insights and tell us what's ahead in the upcoming Heads Up Regional Think Tank, which comes our way, listeners, between the 19th and 20th of June. Good morning, folks.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us.
Dr. Smith, you're with us?
Yes, thank you for the invite.
Very well. All right, let me start with you, Sidonie. Why is the 8th UN Global Road Safety Week particularly important and relevant to us here in Jamaica?
Absolutely. So the 8th UN Global Road Safety Week is here at a very crucial time in Jamaica where motorcycle-related fatalities, as you just said, is at an all-time high where we have 30% of total road fatalities being motorcycle-related fatalities. These are men, mostly men aged 19 to 29. These are the breadwinners of the families, the brothers, the uncles, the fathers carrying on the economy, right? And we do recognize that some Caribbean islands also in Latin America as well, have this shared experience where motorcycle-related fatalities is a challenge. So this week, it's an opportunity for us to spotlight that these are preventable deaths, preventable injuries, promote the use of certified helmets, and push forward stronger laws and public education to facilitate helmet safety. It's also for us to call action to stakeholders, on every level to join this cause.
All right, Dr. Terry Smith, share with us some more about your interest in this whole initiative based on the organization with which you're associated.
Well, I'm glad to work with Sidonie and her team. And as you pointed out, the statistics we have in Jamaica, we have far too many male riders not wearing helmets. And part of our road safety effort is going to be get as many certified helmets on heads as we can to reduce this risk and severity of these terrible road accidents. So I'm glad to work with Jane Foundation and their team.
Indeed. Now, Sidonie, what are the fatalities for motorcycle-related crashes so far this year? Are you apprised
So
of that
for
number?
yes, so for this year,
Mm-hmm.
I think as of yesterday, I don't have the data for today.
Yeah.
We have 45 lives lost, right?
Wow.
This is just a bit less than last year, this time, which we had 58 persons.
Mm-hmm. So that's
However,
marginally less.
yes, so it's just a 5% decline, but we are happy to say 5% of the fathers, brothers, uncles, and breadwinners, and we do recognize that this number must go down to zero, right?
Indeed.
And I just want to highlight that we have 142 total road fatalities. So if you see what percentage of that is 45, it's a large amount.
Indeed.
So this initiative is critical.
Dr. Smith, why is it important for motorcycle operators, to don a helmet? And as I heard you use the word earlier, what was it again? A prescribed helmet or an approved helmet? What was the word again?
Certified.
Certified helmet.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Why is that
So
important?
we know, Marlon, that putting on a helmet, a certified helmet, is going to reduce the risk of a fatality by about 50%. So just by wearing a certified helmet, we can save lives. And when we talk about a certified helmet, we're talking about a helmet that has been tested and is recognized to provide adequate protection in the unfortunate event of a motorcycle crash. So it could have, could have a DOT sticker on it, it could have an ECE sticker on it, it could have an Australian sticker on it, but it is a certified helmet tested by a recognized test house, so you know you're getting good protection.
Indeed. And coming back to you, what has Jane's experience been with the whole issue of raising awareness concerning road safety in over the period of time it has been concerning itself with this aspect of national life here in Jamaica, Sidonie?
So our experience has been, so we started out with research, right? So everything that we're doing is evidence-based.
Data-driven,
and what we found out, what we found out is persons are not likely to wear helmets because of reasons that they're just going around the corner. They, they don't believe that they'll get injured, and they believe that they'll be able to maneuver the bike because of their skill. This is not something that is unique to Jamaica. It is pretty much a part of other countries experiencing the same thing. And what this has proven is that these knowledge, attitudes, and practices are the reasons that our persons are dying when not wearing helmets, because they believe that they'll be okay, right? So we have to implore the importance on them of putting on the helmet, to say that it just takes a second to go around the corner and you could be in a crash, right? You'd never know the minute nor the hour of when something can happen. So we use this type of information to inform our discussion, right? And we have been going into schools in our road safety school tour, because we have to get to them early. If we engender a culture of safety from early, then these persons will grow up to be motorcyclists with helmets, and they are riding motorcycles from teenagers, and they'll be transported to school as pillion passengers. And everyone needs to wear a certified helmet. We are also doing blood drives and other community engagement activities to build relationship with the biker community, so that we can push forward the message, and it will come from a place of they'll be more connected to us to receive the message.
All right. And Dr. Smith, we have been going on about the certified helmet. Give us a sense as to what helmets are so considered, because as we know, you wouldn't want basically to have a motorist or a prospective motorist just dragging any item off the shelf. So what essentially constitutes a certified helmet?
Well, the good news is that the certified helmets come in all shapes and sizes. There are certified half helmets, which cover just above your ears. There's certified open face helmets, which leave your face open when you ride. There are full face helmets. I'm sure we've all seen that. And now there are new helmets called modular helmets, which will click up and become an open face, so the chin bar moves up and out. All four of those styles of helmets are certified and will be certified. And so the riders have a great choice in the kind of head protection they want to wear. And once again, returning back, our message is we want to get as many helmets on heads as we can during this safety week and going forward to reduce all of these road fatalities in Jamaica.
And one of the strategies, thank you for that, Dr. Smith. Now, one of the strategies, perhaps, Sydney, would be to target youngsters, because as we know, there are many persons who are so bent in their habits or their practices that quite frankly do not accord with what is recommended, certainly by road safety experts. So give us a sense as to how important it would be to target these groups, from youngsters at schools for the persons who are just coming into bike riding or motorcycle operating or driving age, for example.
So it is critical that we start from a young age to talk about safety and have an appreciation to establish the culture. Because as you know, to change habits is the hardest thing once it's ingrained and stuck in you as an adult. So it's easier for us to put the information out there to the youngsters and teach them the importance, and it will be more appreciated. If you look in other countries where you see even pedal cyclists, every little child on their bicycles, they have on their helmets, right? And it's because of how it's taught from a young age. So if we can get that appreciation here from a young age, then it definitely will translate in that type of positive behavior when they get to be adults. And we must recognize that these students, they have an influence on their parents, in encouraging them to wear helmet. I want to feel protected when I'm traveling to school on your motorcycle as a pillion passenger. So it is very important.
What impact would you say the UN has been having, certainly where road safety, since the inception of Road Safety Week? We know that this upcoming, the current observance we're in is essentially the 8th such observance. So this is for Dr. Smith. What impact do you think it has had, not just here in Jamaica, but essentially globally?
Well, I think both locally and globally, the UN Road Safety Committee and the UN Road Safety Secretariat, Dr. Jean Todd, is doing a fantastic job of promoting road safety. They're very interested in helmets and support helmet programs and actually provide helmets in some other developing countries. And I believe they may have even provided some in the past to Jamaica. So part of the whole message on road safety is that it is a global issue, and the problems, as Sidonia has pointed out, the problems in Jamaica are not unique. They exist in other neighboring countries, and so the whole purpose of our think tank is to exchange ideas and learn best practices so we can all move forward together and improve road safety all around the region. And I'll be joining the think tank, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
Indeed. And Sydney, can you give us some details with us? You would have heard Dr. Smith just now raising the issue of the upcoming think tank. It comes our way over 2 days, the 19th of June and the 20th of June. Share with us what that will entail and how, persons attending and supporting will benefit in tangible ways.
Okay, excellent. So the regional think tank team heads up on June 19th to 20th. It will be held in Road Safety Month for us in Jamaica, June. It's a 2-day hybrid event. So those who are not able to be there physically will be able to join virtually to learn from the various countries in Latin America and the Caribbean insights on effective helmet safety initiatives, road safety politics, community engagement strategies. We have the technology, we have the opportunity to learn from persons who are experiencing the same things, and shared knowledge is very beneficial to all of us. So this type of dialogue aims to inspire stronger evidence-based approaches to motorcycle safety in Jamaica and across the region. So we invite everybody to join us online. Look out for more details on how to register to be a part of the online program on our JN Foundation page. It is coming soon. And we look forward to everybody learning something that they could share with even their circle of influence about the importance of wearing helmets.
Is there an admission involved, admission charge involved?
No.
So members of the public are invited to, and this is at no cost to them.
Yeah, join us online. Yep, absolutely.
I see. All right, Dr. Smith, you were seeking to chime in just now?
Well, no, I'm glad to echo Sidoni's point that we're all going to learn together. So look forward to seeing everybody.
Dr. Smith, would you say that the degree to which some segments, some demographic groups may find the cost of helmets prohibitive, that has adversely impacted their behavior in terms of helmet wearing?
Oh, that's definitely a factor.
Yeah, the socioeconomics of it.
Yeah, the economics of helmets, helmet costs, and one of the other issues is, we talk about certified helmets and the cost associated with getting a product certified versus not being certified means that some people can buy helmets that are not certified at a low cost. And that's one of the things that we are working with the Jamaican government to try and prevent these type of products from entering the country because they don't provide adequate protection. And that is a concern to us because that compounds our problem, because our mission is to try and, reduce deaths and injury, yet some people wear these fake little beanies that have no ability to protect your head. And unfortunately, they are very inexpensive. So cost is an issue, and we're working with government agencies to try and reduce fees and tariffs and to try and make helmets as affordable as we can for everyone.
Indeed. Any final words that you'd like to share with our listeners, Sidoni?
I encourage everyone listening to encourage at least one person in their circle of influence to wear a certified helmet to preserve their lives, right? As Terry mentioned, it gives you a 50% chance of avoiding death. And I think that is incentive enough. And if you do that, know that you are helping not only your loved ones, but everyone, the medical system, because that's everyone who would have benefit from that person staying alive and not being injured.
Very well. And the final words to you, Dr. Terry Smith, on this issue.
Yes, let's all wear a helmet and stay alive. So ride safe.
Indeed. Now, Sidoni, any activities or notable events that you want to mention this week? We have the observance going on in this week, May 12th through to what? May 18th. Any activities that you'd want to draw attention to?
Actually, no, we are just continuing the work that we are doing in bringing attention to the small reduction in road fatalities and just encouraging all our road safety stakeholders to continue on the path and just to reach out to persons to collaborate on this particular activity.
And finally,
we're establishing partnerships.
And finally,
we're establishing partnerships. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask you about the collaboration that you may be having with the National Road Safety Council. And it seems like an interesting juncture because you were just going on a while ago to make mention of the partnerships that you at the Jane Foundation have been establishing in relation to road safety.
Absolutely. So the National Helmet Wearing Coalition is implemented by the Jane Foundation in collaboration with the National Road Safety Council.
Okay.
However, the coalition has been making waves in making partnerships with other road safety partners, such as we have been working with the ITA. We've invited them to join us on our
That's
school
the
tour and
Island
many
Traffic
other
Authority,
initiatives.
listeners.
Absolutely. And we've been working with the Bureau of Standards of Jamaica to talk about how we could create an environment for safe helmets. So we've been making waves with partnerships, and we will continue to do that. And we've also done a lot of work with the JCF in our community engagement activities.
Very well. All right. Really want to thank you, lady and gentlemen, for your time with us this morning and for putting the spotlight on this very important issue. We have families that have been, ravaged and people losing their life and the breadwinners, killed as a result of some of these crashes, particularly crashes involving motorcycle. All right, so we have to leave it there. We were speaking with Sidoni Preddy. Thank you for your time, Sidoni. And we were very well. And we were speaking with Dr. Terry Smith. Dr. Terry Smith is from the He is principal scientist at Galetos, and he is a technical consultant supporting helmet safety initiatives. And as I mentioned earlier, Sidney Preddy is the project manager for road safety and road user education at the Jane Foundation. This week, May 12 through to 18, is being observed, listeners, as the Global Road Safety Week, the United Nations Global Road Safety Week, and it is being observed under the theme, Make Walking, Cycling, and Riding Safe. So, and they have this upcoming event. It's dubbed Heads Up Regional Think Tank, and it is coming our way on the 19th and 20th of June. It will be a hybrid event, and so look out for that. I gather, as Sidney mentioned just now, the month of June is being observed as Road Safety Month. Yes? So that's where we leave it, though, in this segment. We come back on the program, hopefully with more of your calls on 212-9824 or 462-0919. Soon come back.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere. Contact News Talk 93 FM today via phone at 876-927-1660, extension 2475, or 876-427-9955. Email us at newstalk93fmsales@gmail.com. Visit our website at www.newstalk93fm.net.
Let's go! Bag it and pin it, every rubbish in a pan. No dirty up the place, this a we island. So keep Jamaica. Say make we do it, keep Jamaica clean. Make you listen to me please. No plastic bag, no fear blowing at the breeze. Proper garbage, disposal, recycle plastic, now make it full up in the streets. Bag it and pin it, every rubbish in a pan. No dirty up the place, this a we island. So keep Jamaica. Say make we do it.
Host your next event at the UWI Regional Headquarters. Our venue, located in Mona, Kingston, features reconfigurable meeting and seminar rooms, lounges, and lawn space for events large, small, and anywhere in between. Our facilities can be tailored to suit any occasion, from stylish soirees to formal business meetings. Call 876-927-2425 or 876-455-9346 to book your event. The UE Regional Headquarters, where great minds come together.
Do you love games,
riddles,
trivia,
giveaways,
prizes, and
surprises?
Well, tune in to the most exciting game show
on your radio.
Fantastic Fridays.
Call in to answer questions.
Challenge a friend in a rivals battle.
Join the discussion on Talk the Ting with Kim.
Listen out for the hottest songs with MV's Top 3.
Let's have some fun and win big prizes. This and every Friday,
5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
on News Talk 93 FM.
To participate on our programs, call, WhatsApp, or text us at 876-212-9824 or 876-462-0919. And go follow us on Instagram at NewsTalk93FM.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere.
Story on the Radio Jamaica news portal was essentially published June 7, 2024, and it says JFJ calls for amendments to Sexual Offences Act. The penultimate paragraph of the story provides context. It says here, the pending review follows Monday's revelation by Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of crime, Fitzbailey, that the suspect arrested in the abduction and murder of school teacher Daniel Anglin had prior convictions for sexual offenses in Jamaica and Antigua. So, and then the final paragraph reads, this sparked fresh debate about the opening up of the sex offender registry. So just like the discussion we're having at present, last June, this discussion came to the fore. You'll recall that teacher, I think it was, who was abducted. She was later found murdered. And lo and behold, the perpetrator, the suspect that was arrested in that matter, was someone established to have had sexual offenses in his history. But just to read for you the first paragraph of this item of reportage by RGR, it says here, and this was by Raquel Porter of Radio Jamaica, Executive Director at Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, Michael Jackson, is calling for the government in its review of the sex offender registry not to make it public, but to broaden categories of those who can access and ensure effective utilization by those who already have access. So what she's talking about is for those who have access, like the police and other stakeholders, other prescribed stakeholders, and authorized persons, but the citizens generally, that lady who lives up in Crofts Hill, that lady who lives in Port Morant, out in eastern St. Thomas, person who live up in the Rio Grande Valley, they mustn't be seized of a sex offender in their midst, because JFJ is, of course, a human rights lobby group, and they're concerned about the right to privacy of that, quote-unquote sex offender. Anyway, more and on. We out here have a country that we have to focus on, you see. JFJ has donations to focus on. We have to do what we have to do as a people and let JFJ do what they have to do, you see. JFJ is involved in the donor funds ecosystem. We have to cultivate and preside over a law-abiding and a decent ecosystem of men, women, boys and girls living in harmony. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Yes, Mr. Marlon. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Milton.
Yes, sir. JFJ, so you have the opinion that the average Mary Arjo, for that matter, should have known who a sex offender is, right?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
So my position is for the sex offender registry to be made public as we see it in other jurisdictions. For example, in some states in the U.S., you have a prescribed manner in which this is done, so people are seized in the community.
As he mentally, I probably she would have made an alarm. So I'm not an argument with for the average person to know that who is a sexual offender.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy common sense.
But
right?
No, but you describe it as easy common sense, Milton. You heard what I read a while ago? That your good friend Michael Jackson of JFJ don't want it to be made public?
I never met that lady personally, so how we come to be friends, if I may ask, sir?
No, by association, the community of persons, Milton.
Anyway, I don't know how word
in the matter of the JCF versus the JFJ. Sir Milton, in the matter of the JCF versus the JFJ, remember I was on the side of the JCF and other people. I don't recall which side you were on.
Along with the ambassador, the Prime Minister.
What kind of Prime Minister? You mean the venerable Prime Minister? You mean the Prime Minister who is active and strong? Yeah, the Prime Minister who is opening the Morant Bay facility tomorrow.
Pardon me? Me say if that is a good way to label the Prime Minister now embattled.
No, man, I said venerable. Your word is that word. That word is a word I reserve for your General Secretary. Your General Secretary, who by right. Yes? Anyway, I won't even go there in terms of the registry. A certain registry that a certain person should be on.
Big man. Mr. Morgan.
Yes, sir.
You always have a throw salt in the wound, you know, so you know, so people will return the favor.
We're not a problem with that, sir.
Because if the Prime Minister is not in battle, I don't know who is.
I am putting it to you, Milton. That is your General Secretary, Dayton Ricardo Campbell, who the descriptor embattled appropriately fits.
Why you say that?
Because we heard a voice note with him, apparently in conversation with Lawrence Rowe, seeking to explain, if not justify, why the KCMC, under the direction of Mayor Andrew Swaby, did what it did in terms of channeling money to prop up political fortunes in respective geographic spaces where they are impending by-elections. You remember that famous voice note, sir?
Mr. Morgan.
You remember that famous voice note?
I don't know of it, sir.
You don't know of it? You're not going to know of it?
No, Mr. Morgan.
Anyway, go ahead. Yes, sir. I am Mr. Morgan.
This is a part of the Labour Party. You know, you remember that seat that you lost in Clarendon sometime in November?
Yes, man. You're referring to the Ain Town Division, Milton.
The young lady, the councillor died.
Yeah, man, you're referring to the Ain Town Division, Milton. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I remember.
And the PNP won it, right?
Yeah, that's correct, Milton.
So that will give the PNP between 2 or 3 councillor lead over the Labour Party, right?
2 or 3 councillor lead?
Yes.
No, sir.
More councillor in the last Paris County election.
Oh, well, in terms of the overall haul, yeah.
Yes, and besides, you know, remember the argument was where there is a tie. The party who get the majority of the vote, the popular vote, would form the mayorship.
Good point, Milton. So I'm going to ask you now to pause and facilitate some learning now.
You're going to the break?
No, man. Well, on, man. I'm asking you to pause. I'm going to speak now on the issue you have raised. When the parish council... That may I talk about, Milton, man. Just do some listening, man. Do some listening. Watch me now. When the local government elections were contested last February, in the KSAMC, in Kingston and St. Andrew, both the JLP and the PNP came away with 20 divisions each. As such, the formula that was used to determine who chairs and takes control of the KSAMC was that the popular vote would determine who becomes the mayor. So that was the formula used. The JLP has the deputy mayor, who is Delroy Williams. The PNP has the mayor, who is Mayor Andrew Swaby. In the case of Clarendon, consequent on the elections, the JLP came out in the majority, and so a determination was made, Milton, as to mayor. A mayor was in place and has been in place in Clarendon since February of last year, or at least consequent on the February 25, 2024 local government elections. However, consequent on the death of this councillor, the lady who was in Town, and consequent on the PNP having gone on to win or regain that division, the distribution of the divisions in Clarendon is of such now that there's an equal number held by both the JLP and the PNP. I believe it is 12-12 or something like that. Anyway, that circumstance is not one that necessitates a formula to determine mayor. Because according to the law, the mayor, hold on, Milton, remember the rule? You talk and then me talk. When I am through talking, you will go on to do your talking. I'm almost at the end of my talking. So watch me again now. To the extent that a mayor for Maypen, the chairman of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, has already been in place, there is no determination to be made at this juncture as to who the mayor is, because one mayor did it already. You understand that? You can go ahead now with your talking, sir.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes, sir.
The people who do the thing, they did it wrong from the first time, right?
Oh.
Because if there was a tie, the popular vote gonna be the tiebreaker, right? And you're gonna have the mayor.
That is,
to get the popular
but
vote.
Milton, fundamentally, that is in circumstances.
We know you people do anything to keep Mr. Joel with them there, because you don't do the mayorship.
Me no want we talk at the same time, my brother. So when you attack, I am silent.
Mr. Farmer Mayor from Kingston, from come down there.
Milton, you said something a while ago, and I was responding to what you were saying. And all I'm saying in short, yes, all I'm saying in short is that a mayor, you already had an incumbent mayor. In other words, the vacancy.
The people who formulate the thing, then do it wrong, because they can't say the popcorn right on the left, the PNP have 20 equal, and but they have right now they have the popular vote. So something wrong with that top. The people who formulate the thing, then do it wrong.
So Milton, Milton, you have raised a profound point.
No, please, not man. Mr. Big man.
Sir.
Either they should have done, either them put get a lumber, cut out the equal lumber, get a hard lumber, right? I'll do something. But they can't say if it's tire and me have more popular vote than you may be the mayor. Right now the PNP have the popular vote and they are not the mayor, so the people who don't then do it wrong. You know why you want to admit that? The people who formulated the thing and do it wrong.
Let me explain something to you, Milton, because since you're obsessing about popular vote, since you're harping on popular vote, because the points I'm seeking to make, you're not even allowing me to make the points I'm seeking to make. Sir, can I ask you to pause? I do not, Milton, I do not want you and I to speak at the same time. Can you simply understand that?
All I'm saying right now, big man, this that is a minority me and on based on the family.
May I ask you to pause now? In other words, keep your lips sealed. Watch me now. Consequent on the September 3, 2007 general elections here in Jamaica, the PNP held the popular vote. You know who formed the government? Much to Portia Simsimila's chagrin? Alright, Bruce Golding was minted as Prime Minister.
Big man.
Alright, sir. Alright.
Nobody with that, man.
Mr. Milton, I just have a simple rule. I have a simple rule. I have a simple rule. I have a simple rule. Because I am moving away from that example. No, hold on, Milton. Hold on.
The parliamentary election to a parish council election.
So I'm coming back now to the parish context.
What are you doing, Mr. Morgan? Wasting time?
Sir, I'm coming back to the parish context now. So watch me
Yes,
now.
and all I'm saying, technically, Joel William is a minority leader as we speak.
I'm coming back
because
to the
PFP have equal with the JLP now have the popular vote. So technically, Mr. Joel William is a minority leader.
Right, so Mr. Milton, I'm going to do some talking now.
He should fall in the rank of the name the guy there, the deputy to Mr. Sway, Angel Swaby right now. So,
listeners, Mr. Milton has raised a good point. So watch me now. There was a time when we had 60 seats in the Jamaican Parliament. 60 seats could leave room for a split down the middle. We now have an uneven number of seats that constitute the Jamaican Parliament. 63 seats are spread across Jamaica. And we saw in 2016 a wafer-thin majority for the JLP. The JLP came out of the February 25, 2016 elections with 32 seats to the PNP's 31. The JLP took government by the narrowest of margins. It is good that we had at least an uneven number of seats, an odd number of seats, so that you can clearly have someone emerging to serve as Speaker of the House, and then you go have 31 member over there, so government side, 31 member over there, so opposition side. Milton is making a point, and it's a fair point, that ideally it would be good for our respective parishes to have an odd number of divisions, so that we don't even get into the business of a tie in relation to the divisions held. Because if one man have 9 and one man have 10, it is very straightforward. As opposed to you having 18 and one man have 9 and the other man have 9. And so if you had an odd number, it would essentially obviate any potential tie, and you wouldn't need a popular vote formulation. Now, in fact, if you had a by-election in circumstances where you have an uneven number of divisions between the two sides, and the composition changes such that one side loses the majority and another side goes into the majority in terms of the number of divisions held, then we know which side would take control of the municipal corporation, because they would have the majority of the seats. So, as Milton makes a fair point in that this matter may well need to be revisited, so that while you have a mayor in place, if circumstances change such that the seat distribution becomes equal, then you may need to go the route of the popular vote. Yeah? You may need to go the route of the popular vote. Is Milton still on the line? Mr. Milton?
Yeah.
Yes, Milton, you're with us?
Can we move on now?
Yeah, you can go ahead, sir.
Yes, the accident on the road.
Mm-hmm.
For the last 6 hours or years, the bike riders have been feeling it, in terms of fatality,
They've been feeling it. I thought you would have said the bike riders have been irresponsible.
Yeah, you're best today. But I think it was for the last 6 years, in excess of 100 people that died for the last 5 years of bike, on the Nation Road, and I think the police.
So is the bike riders have been feeling it, or the bike riders have for the most part been irresponsible?
Pardon me?
You just used the descriptor to say the bike riders have been feeling it. That's the verb you used.
Yeah, in terms of I feel last 5 years, I think in excess of in excess of
what would be your call at this time? Because my call, watch me now, Milton, my call is for the bike riders to wear the appropriate protective equipment and be responsible in their use of the nation's roads. That's my call. What would be your call on a morning like this? My
call. The police is not doing enough. The police deal with them too lightly on the road.
Oh, so your call. You jump over responsibility on the part of the motorcycle operators to put the blame on the police. Are the police now hold them to account enough?
They are not doing enough to curb them on the road. They should give them a bigger charge. Whenever they put them before the court, that would be a deterrent to them, a bigger charge. Right? Big charge. Once you give them a big charge, then they will think twice.
Well, I'm not one of those persons, Milton, who see certain things as mutually exclusive, and so I will say to you that indeed, hold on, Milton, man, me can't talk and you chime in, man. No do that something, man. I simply want to conduct the program a certain way. You say what you say, and me say what me say. Which part of that hard for you to understand?
Oh, at least you have learned now, Mr. Marlon.
I've learned what? You have
learned, at least. You have learned.
Anyway, let me go on to make the point I'm making. These two issues are not mutually exclusive. So, in as much as motorcycle operators are to wear personal protective equipment and use the roads responsibly and obey the road code when they're riding and operating motorcycles. Increase police operations in terms of speeding, police presence on the roads to with their speed gun to create a presence and hold these guys to account more would also help. Just the sheer police presence and operations would also help. Yes? So the two things are not mutually exclusive. But I want to put greater focus because the police will not be and cannot be everywhere. And instead of having to police irresponsible bike riders, I want the police, Milton, to be pursuing the guys that others may not want them to pursue. I want the police to be available to go after Giovanni Ellis. And if Giovanni Ellis does not decide to meet a judge, I want the police to do what they did on Monday, ensure that him go and meet a mortician. Because somebody will have to fix up him face in him casket. And we are unapologetic in that regard. Rounds, in other words, Milton, watch me now. Rounds that are sponsored by people like myself in terms of my tax dollars should fill up the body of persons, yes, who decide to take on the police. Rounds of ammunition must fill them up and tighten them up.
Yes, sir. But man, let me tell you about security, see the world over.
Yeah.
They have an average from about 16 to 45. And I think you fall under average, you see?
What about? No, made that point again. I didn't get that point, Milton.
Right back,
Made the point again, Milton. You said something about average, whatever. Made the point again.
The world over.
Yeah?
You have an average. Most young men between the 16 to 45.
Yeah.
And I think you're falling that years ago. The big last statement just while you there.
Let me restate the statement. Especially because I suspect that you're uncomfortable with it. Let me restate the statement. Milton, me no want me and you talk at the same time. Me no want me and you talk at the same time. Milton, let me say it for the umpteenth time. I'm saying it in English now. This is the Queen's English. I do not wish for you and I to be speaking at the same time. I know patois and I know perfect Jamaican Standard English. I'm an exponent at both, or an exponent of both. So now, let me repeat what I said earlier. I am a proud taxpayer who funds the operations of government, that purchases the ammunition that goes into the guns that the police go out and conduct their duties with. And to the extent that the police are lawfully conducting their duties, and to the extent that people like Giovanni Ellis, yes, as is reported in Giovanni Ellis's case, elect not to meet a judge, but decide to take on the law enforcement and point their weapons at law enforcement and fire bullets at them. I am a proud taxpayer that my money helps to buy the rounds that goes into the bodies of the Giovanni Ellises of this world. So if you don't proud to be such a taxpayer, that's a for your business, Milton.
Anyway, Mr.
Anyway, you turn Movado. Movado used to say, anyway. Go ahead, Mr. Milton, you can close.
Anyway,
let's have the benediction.
I took you off the PNP back for 15 minutes.
You took what that?
At least I'm so glad that I just took you off the PNP back for 15 minutes. I think you should think more about your impact to the Prime Minister.
You're actually comedic as well.
I'm
getting wrap-up signal, Milton.
I wonder why the media doesn't regard them as such.
Let's do this another day. Whenever we talk, I want us to have a talk where me say what me say and you say what you say. I don't want us to talk at the same time.
You have learned, man.
So you did well today. You took me off the back of the PNP for 15 minutes. You can take him off the line. Because as Milton knows, I'm on the PNP like white on rice. Anyway, let me thank our broadcast technician and producer, Tanya Richards. To advertise with us, call our sales agents at 427-9955. Until next time, this is Marlon Morgan bidding you a good rest of day.